This is KGW News at 5.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Brittany Falkers and we begin tonight with continuing coverage of the crisis in Ukraine. For a second straight day, Ukraine is accusing Russia of breaking a ceasefire, preventing civilians from escaping cities under attack.
They again, for the second time, refused to allow women and children to get out and for the humanitarian goods to get into Mariupol.
Outside Kyiv, video corroborated by the New York Times appears to show people being hit as they try to escape. Witnesses say this blast killed a woman and 2 children. In his latest address, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky made another plea for allies to create a no-fly zone over his country. The U.S. and NATO officials still say it won't happen for now. Instead, the U.S. is in talks with Poland to convince that country to provide Russian-made fighter jets to Ukraine. The U.S. says it may backfill their fleet if that deal is approved. All this while momentum is growing in Congress for the U.S. to stop buying Russian oil.
This notion that somehow banning Russian oil would raise prices on American consumers is an admission that this guy, that this killer, that this butcher, Vladimir Putin, has leverage over us. Why would we want that leverage to continue?
In his strongest statement yet on the issue, Secretary of State Antony Blinken said the U.S. is documenting reports which appear to show Russia is committing war crimes in Ukraine. Another round of peace talks is set to begin tomorrow. And as the violent invasion of Ukraine continues, the human loss is adding up, and so is the loss of freedom in a country trying to distance itself from its own totalitarian past. Our Tim Gordon spoke with a Reed College professor with strong connections to Ukraine to provide some context on the crisis.
The images of war are awful. The toll Russia's attack is taking on Ukraine is devastating. Reed College sociology professor Alexandra Herzog has friends all over Ukraine, including its second largest city, Kharkiv.
And they've been under constant bombardment by missile strikes for the better part of a week. And it's truly terrifying because not only are people under threat of death, the food supply is running out.
Herzog grew up in New York, her Ukrainian-speaking family forced from Eastern Europe by World War II. She has studied Ukraine society extensively.
This is a very, very hard time for all of us. And at the same time, I want to say that this did not surprise me at all and that it's been going in this direction for some time.
Russia's aggression is ongoing, now greatly intensified by an all-out invasion. And along with the lost lives and broken buildings is the damage to a free society, striving to be everything Russia is not: open, inclusive, and democratic.
Russia has actually systematically destroyed its own civil society. And so we actually have an idea of what it will look like in Ukraine when we look at neighboring Russia and we see what has happened to venerable human rights organizations.
But Herzog says Ukrainians are proving Putin's ways are not welcome, and the civilized world is with Ukraine.
It's really a wonderful thing to hear so many expressions of support and to see how much attention Western media has been devoting to the toll that this has had on Ukrainian citizens.
Tim Gordon, KGW News.
And now, to Professor Herzog's point there, people here at home are paying attention to what's happening in Ukraine. There were 2 separate rallies today at Pioneer Square here in Portland. One group was saying the U.S. and NATO should not get involved with the conflict. Others were out to show their support for Ukraine and its people. Combined, dozens were talking about the issue publicly in Portland's living room, some even coming as far away as Yachats.
It's important to be here because I want to stand with the people in Ukraine who are suffering right now. And I don't know what they're going through, but I feel their pain, and I'm here to empathize with them.
I'm standing for my family in Ukraine that had to leave their homes yesterday because Kharkiv is bombed, because Cherkasy is bombed, and Kyiv is bombed. I can do nothing, just stand here and yelling.
The pro-Ukraine group is asking for more Portland buildings to light up with yellow and blue, the colors of the Ukrainian flag. And coming up tonight on NBC Nightly News, Lester Holt is inside Ukraine. He traveled into the country just this morning, documenting his journey for us here. In about an hour, Lester shares the trip as it happened.
Back on the road to Lviv now. We've passed what appear to be several checkpoints along the way. We haven't been pulled over, however. The Ukrainians are clearly on guard for the potential of Russian saboteurs or spies.
Lester shares his first impressions as he gets on the streets and talks to people who are fleeing and those who want to stick it out. It's coverage that you won't want to miss, and it's ahead on Nightly News. That kicks off right after us at 6 o'clock. Back here closer to home, an Oregon State trooper is facing allegations of misconduct. He's the target of an investigation and civil lawsuit after claims the Southern Oregon drug cop underreported stops and targeted minorities. Here's Kyle Aboshi.
From drug busts to saving puppies, Oregon State Police celebrated the work of Trooper Travis Peterson, his accomplishments posted on social media. But now this drug cop from Southern Oregon is attracting attention for another reason: allegations of misconduct.
Travis Peterson has been racially profiling on Interstate 5 and throughout the roads of Jackson County for years.
Later this week, attorney Justin Rosas plans to file a class action lawsuit against Oregon State Police and Trooper Peterson on behalf of 8 men who believe they were wrongly detained while driving through Southern Oregon.
And part of this lawsuit is trying to look out for all of the over-policing of people who are just trying to move along, and people of color predominantly, right, who are just trying to move along.
A review of press releases and social media posts suggest over the past few years, Trooper Peterson and his K-9 have made numerous drug busts along Interstate 5 near Medford, seizing cash, cocaine, heroin, and meth. But court records indicate many of those cases were later dismissed because the trooper allegedly conducted unlawful searches. And there were other problems. A memo from the Jackson County District Attorney shows Peterson failed to document hundreds of traffic stops. He didn't record some canine deployment, which impacts a dog's accuracy rating, and some evidence went missing.
He did hide his stops evidence. He did hide his canine stops. They do continue to employ him.
The attorney claims Trooper Peterson frequently stopped vehicles with out-of-state plates where drivers looked like they were not from the area. In a tort claim notice, the lawyer said blatantly he targeted minorities. Peterson could not be reached for comment. He's currently on protected leave for unrelated reasons. In a statement, state police said OSP takes allegations of racial discrimination and evidence mishandling seriously and has zero tolerance for such behavior by its members. OSP investigates all allegations of misconduct and takes appropriate steps to address any behavior falling outside its policies, rules, procedures, or law. The lawsuit comes at a time when vehicle searchers have come under greater scrutiny. The Oregon Supreme Court made it harder for police to search vehicles without a warrant, and the state legislature just passed a bill that would prevent officers from pulling drivers over for a minor infraction and require officers to inform drivers they have the right to refuse a search during a traffic stop. Kyle Aboshi, KGW News.